into this environment, a new you, into this environment where you're going to have a whole series of experiences like you've never had before. It's going to be a very unusual family reunion because they are going to find a person that they have not met before. And they're not going to be able to talk you back into your insecurities that you had since you got stuck in that little chair when you were 4 or whatever.
When you think about in the context of what we're just talking about, can you, from a vibrational standpoint, talk about the word responsibility? Because that's a conflicting word for me when I think about doing what I want to do sometimes. I just would like to hear you talk about responsibility.
Let's look more to its roots. Let's start with the idea of response. Response first. And then let's talk about the law of attraction. And then let's talk about connection and how in sync you are with your inner being. We've been talking about, so you decide to meditate and you quiet your mind. And if you quiet your mind, you stop thought. And if you stop thought, you stop resistant thought. And if you stop resistant thought, your vibration rises. And when your vibration rises, now you're in sync with source energy and your inner being. And now things will begin occurring to you. Thoughts will occur to you. Impulses will come to you.
So is it responsible to do that, or is it responsible to not just do
Wait, just 1 second. You're being responsive to your vibration. So rather than responsibility for just a little bit, we want to talk about what I'm responsive to. And what I'm responsive to in my human form is the vibration that I'm most matched to. If I've practiced my alignment with my inner being, then I'm most responsive to what my inner being knows. If I've been watching television and complaining about this and that and this and that, or if I'm in the middle of an uncomfortable relationship at work or at home or whatever, then that might be what's active in me and I'm responsive to that. Our friend was talking about his father who's responsive to all kinds of things because of the thoughts he's been thinking and the life he's been living. So now you want to take that responsiveness, which we want to call a law of attraction thing, and you want to make yourself responsible. So if you're going to be responsible, then you've got to be responsible to how you've tended to your vibration. We would call it your responsibility to feel good. You really owe it to yourself to feel good, because when you feel good, then good things come to you, and when you feel mad, they don't. And if you want to call it responsibility, that's just fine. But the reason it's tripping you up is because there are so many people around you who have not actively known about the law of attraction. They've not been thinking about inner being. They will say things like, let your conscience be your guide, or they will say things like, follow your gut instinct and things like that. People have been dabbling in this. All kinds of people have had connection and inspiration, and they get that. This is not the first conversation about any of this, but most people are living life by default, and most people are just responding to what they're giving their attention to. And so then there are those who decide they're going to lead someone, lead a child, or even lead a mate, or lead a group of people who are working for you, or lead a team. And their attitude about leadership often is by pointing out to you the things that will go wrong if you don't do this, and if you don't do this. If you don't do this, you're going to get fired, and if you don't do this, you're not going to amount to anything, and if you don't do this. And so most people have been pushing hard against what they don't want, and then disallowing what they do want, and so their idea of what comes to them is all disturbed. It's all distorted, because even in religion, they will say to you, if you keep these rules and you do these things and you don't do these things, then you will be rewarded. And then logical people keep those rules and don't feel all that rewarded. And then they see others around them not keeping the rules who seem to be thriving. And they say, what's going on? And then people say to them, oh, well, you can't tell while you're still here on earth. The reward comes after you die. And we are here to tell you, your guidance system is giving it to you now. What's happening in non-physical is what's happening here. When you don't feel good, you've pinched yourself off from it, and there isn't a reward. Your rewards are happening here. It's what alignment is. It's the emotion that you feel in any moment is what you're reaching for, you see. So getting back to the point that you were sort of kind of making, is that people who want something from you will convince you that there's this set of rules that you need to follow. And rarely does that set of rules include do your best to feel good as much as you can. Usually the rule is, I'm going to need your sacrifice and your commitment, and I'm going to need you to do these things, and you need to put this first no matter what.
I don't think it's other people doing it to me. I think it's me doing it to myself. I think.
Well, we think so too at this point, but we don't think you learned it from nobody.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I'm the one doing it, just to be clear.
But it's such a wonderful thing when you now know that, if you just leave here with this one understanding. We like that word, understanding. What's standing under? What's the basis beneath what you know? So if you just leave here with this one understanding, that your inner being is you, and your inner being is the non-diluted, non-resistant version of you, and that your inner being is even what you want to call future because it hasn't manifested yet, but we want to call presence because it is a vibrational reality version of you, and that your inner being has a point of attraction, and so do you, and that your emotions equal that resonance or lack of it, that harmony or discord, that allowance or disallowance. And so when you feel negative emotion, Esther stops often, and when she's feeling some negative emotion about something, and she acknowledges, you guys don't feel this way about that, do you? And I know why. Thanks for reminding me. Her emotions remind her all day, every day. That's what they're for. It's guidance.
I said to my wife, I said, sometimes I let it get so bad it feels like mental illness, but I came up with a new word for it. I called it mental willness because of the stuff I'm sometimes willing to put up with. And that's that moment where you just stopped it is really important.
And if you don't stop it, it's all right. It'll get bigger, but then something will distract you. Because at this point in what you've got going on, once you know these things, once you acknowledge that you are an extension of source energy, do you know that? And once you acknowledge that that source energy part of you is vividly aware and active in your life experience, do you know that? And once you understand that the things that you've asked for, your inner being is aware of and is attracting on your behalf, do you know that? Is attracting on your behalf. Then there's only one question to ask yourself. Am I a cooperative component right now? And if you got negative emotion going on, the answer is no, not right now. It doesn't mean no, not ever. No, not right now. Not while I feel like this. And if you're frisky and feeling full of fun and you're loving life, then you're letting it in, you're letting it in, and you're letting it in. And before you know it, you start really noticing the difference. You can feel when you're in the flow and when you're not. And the most important thing that your inner beings want us to convey to you is that when you're not in the flow, it's okay. Because your negative emotion about yourself could only exist because your inner being isn't having any negative emotion about you. If your inner being were as mad at you as you are, you wouldn't feel mad. Doesn't that make sense? It's the fact that your inner being knows that all is well and you don't that makes you feel bad. If your inner being knows that you are wonderful and you don't that makes you feel bad, sort of makes you appreciate that discord, doesn't it? Ooh, my inner being must really love me because I'm feeling it right now.
If you give me 5 seconds, I'll show you how this kid managed to manifest $1 million business by 19 as a
I didn't want to come. Somebody invite.
If you give me 5 seconds, I'll show you how this kid managed to manifest $1 million business by 19 as a teenage high school.
We're wanting you to understand, of all the things that you've heard us talking about here today, what would improve your life or anybody else's more than all other things put together?
If I was happy.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so, as you get ahead of yourself so what most people are doing is saying, oh yes, I would like to do that because that will make me happy, and I would like to do that because that would make me happy, and I would like to do that because that would make me happy, and that would make me happy because it's lots of fun people, and that would make me happy because it's got lots of money coming with it, and that would make me happy because I'd get to live in a beautiful part of the world. And we say, conditional, conditional, conditional. What we want you to do is think about, and this is what we want you to hear, is what we've been after all day, is that as you can find right here, right now, current, something that feels happy when you think about it, no matter where you're getting it from, and you stay there until the conditions or the situations or the people or the ideas that match happy begin to occur to you. You see what we're getting at? It's flipping the whole thing. It's doing it, it's counterintuitive to what you've been practicing. Because what you've been practicing is, I'll find the condition that I believe will make me happy, and then I'll find a route to that condition that makes me happy. And we say, but you got to understand that you're the point of attraction to which all things are flowing. So if you can find something, anything to think about or observe or live that makes you happy, and you can maintain that for a little while, other things that make you happy will flow into your experience, and they will be in the form of the work that you want and the money you want. And why is that? Because all of those components are in your vortex. You didn't only just put happy in your vortex, you put lots of money in there too. You put lots of freedom. You put the ability to be or do and have anything that you want. You put the ability to make your own decisions. You put the ability to set your own time. You put the ability to set up your own calendar. You put the ability to really be free. You put the ability to make a difference in people's lives. You put the ability to have other people that resonate with you flow to you. In other words, you put that and more than we have time to talk about in your vortex, and it's already all in there. And what's the access key for you? How do you spend that vibrational currency? By trying to find some condition that you can make yourself believe that you can line up with, or by just finding the core of the reason that you want all of those things and practice it as much as you can until you own it, and then follow the inspiration to that desire, which is to be happy, that will, we promise you, fill in. Does that make sense to you?
I'm a little blown away.
In some cases, it...
That was heavy.
Yeah. You think you're blown away now. As the ideas flow and you feel the perfection of them. And then you see the ease with which
That's
they are.
what I'm seeking.
And then you, but in the seeking of it, you're looking for something that is not, and you introduce resistance into the equation.
How? Where did I do that?
By saying, I'm looking for this thing that I haven't found yet. And so what we're really asking you is, can you be happy? Do you have the ability to be happy before the idea flows?
Yes.
Because if you have the ability to be happy before the idea flows, the idea will flow for sure. You have the ability to be happy before the money gets there. Because if you have the ability to be happy before the money gets there, the money will get there before. Following? So, we know you want to say to us, but Abraham, it's easier to focus on the condition. And we say, how's that working out? It's not easier to focus on the condition. Conditions are loaded. They're loaded with the way everybody else feels about them. They're loaded with all your past beliefs about them. Conditions are loaded with expectations. Start in this pure place and create the environment that allows it to grow. And then experience the explosion of good ideas flowing to you. And say regularly, I had a desire and it was general, but boy, is it evolving into something that's more and more specific. And the more specific a general desire that has no resistance becomes, the more exhilarating it will be. So, a desire that has a lot of momentum and no resistance is ecstasy. A desire that has a lot of momentum and a lot of resistance is miserable. A desire that has not much momentum and no resistance is the beginning of every good thing you want. And a conditionally programmed world, so they say, what are you looking for in life? Happy? Oh yeah, what else? That's it. Happy. Fun. Oh yeah, happy and fun, because fun makes me happy. And happy is fun. Yeah, fun and happy. Fun and fun. And fun and happy. Fun and happy. Fun and happy and clarity. Fun and happy and clarity. Because clarity makes me happy, and clarity is fun. Fun and happy and clarity. And power. Because fun is happy, and happy is fun, and clarity is power. And, fun and happy. And clarity. And rich. And rich. And rich. And healthy. In other words, once you're there in a stable way, you can add anything and everything else to the list, and it will show itself to you in full measure. But you got to start from the basics, and you got to give up the conditional approach to life that you have been practicing, because the conditional approach is introducing resistance into your experience that is unnecessary.
I'm gonna have to download this.
Our ploy is working.
I have one more thing that is completely separate, but how can I tap into Abraham and this message that comes through you?
Get happy. Get happy.
Yeah. I want it.
Well, you're clearly on the trail of it. Your desire is clear, and your allowing was strong enough to get you in the chair. And so in this moment, in this current moment, the resistance is non-existent. And so it's seeking this state of being, it's seeking this feeling. Really what it amounts to is not making such a big deal out of things, and not trying so hard to justify, and sort of taking everyone else out of the equation, and just developing a relationship between you and your source, and letting that be the primary thing that you're reaching. And to understand that the source within you is happy, and that when you feel happy, that alignment is happening. And when you're yearning for something, that's different. Yearning is different than happy. Yearning is an active vibration in opposition to what I'm reaching for. So it's not trying so hard. It's being easier about it. It's looking for the evidence of it that's all around you all the time. It's acknowledging when you are in alignment, and reveling in that alignment, and talking about that alignment when you are there, and keeping the momentum of that alignment going longer, and consciously acknowledging that it is happening, and staying there until you're fully appreciated it, until you just feel obnoxiously invincible. In other words, when you tune into this and practice it and allow it and own it, and can get there easily and start there every morning, and get further and further into your day with it, then all of it, the easier it gets, the easier it gets. Because at first it's a little awkward, but you get better and better at it. And the better you get at it, the more evidence it flows. And the more evidence it flows, the easier it is to be good at it. Until then it becomes the condition coming in response to the vibration, rather than trying to get the vibration to come in response to the condition. That's really what we're wanting you to understand. It's getting the cart before the horse, or the horse before the cart. And so, of all of the things in the world that you can think of, if someone were to walk up to you and say, what do you seek most in life? Your answer is?
Joy, happy.
And if you wanted to add more momentum to that, what other words would you say? If this person were saying to you, and what does that joyful happiness mean to you? Flesh it out a little.
Having fun, being passionate,
And
having a direction, and going for it with
having
everything.
fun, meaning engaging with lots of others. And,
Laughter,
and
humor.
But feel how when you said having direction, there was a little yearning in that. So what you want to say is knowing direction, feeling my way, feeling the inspiration, getting the impulse, being alive to the impulse, following my bliss, feeling it, being moved from the inside. Recognizing that when I feel like this, I'm on the brink of something good, and then when that something good comes, saying, I knew you were coming. I just didn't know in what way you would manifest, but I felt you coming. Those kinds of things. These are the kind of conversations that you want to have with yourself. I knew you were coming. I could feel you coming. I woke up excited about you coming. Jerry and Esther were in this neighborhood a few years ago, and they were on their way to what they considered to be their favorite in the area, and driving down the freeway, and all of a sudden Jerry said, let's go to this restaurant instead. And Esther was driving. All of a sudden she needed to exit like now, and so she took the exit and then asked questions later, which was the agreement that they always had with one another. All right, I've done it. Now why? I don't know. I just feel like we should go. I just feel like I'd like to eat here. But they have that great salad we like over there. And there's only 5 places in the whole world that we can get that salad. And I know, but I just feel like this is where we want to go. And so they went in, and the place was empty, which Esther never sees as a very good sign. And hardly anybody around. And a very nice person came up and helped them and talked to them briefly. And Jerry was always wanting to know people. He wanted to know who she